Hi everyone, I'm Umut Sevinç. I'm a freshman electrical and electronics engineering student at Bilkent University. Today I will represent my Physics 102 lab project. In this experiment, I will examine Kirchhoff's laws called junction rule and loop rule. Before starting to the experiment, I want to mention the theoretical background of the experiment. In this experiment, I will apply two Kirchhoff's laws called junction rule and loop rule. Firstly, according to junction rule, the sum of currents in any junction point is equal to zero. So, to examine this, I will measure the current coming to a point and going out from this point by using multimeter. And I will observe whether these measurements are equal to each other or not. Secondly, according to loop rule, total voltage in any loop is equal to zero. So, to test this law, I will measure voltage on each resistors and I will check if the total potential in the loop is zero. I need some equipment for this experiment. First of all, I will use two identical DC supply. Also, I need two resistors with 150 ohm and only one resistor with 100 ohm. Finally, I will use a multimeter to measure current and voltage values on resistors and a bunch of wires to set up the circuit. Now, we can start the experiment. As a first step, I connected circuit elements as you see in the figure. Then I set DC supplies to 20 volt. Now, in order to calculate the total current at the top junction point, I measured the currents on R1, R2 and R3. By changing the voltage value of one of DC supplies, I repeated this stage at several times and noted the results on table 1. When I compared total current coming to the point with the current going out from the point, I noticed that they are almost equal to each other, so these results validate Kirchhoff's first law. At the second stage of the experiment, I used the same circuit and set the DC supplies to 20 volt again. Then I measured the potential on R1, R2 and R3 by using multimeter. After noting these values on table 2, I noticed that the total voltage in the loop is almost equal to zero. So, these results verify Kirchhoff's second law. At the last stage, I drew voltage current graph for R1 and I measured its slope. After doing unit conversion, I found experimental R1 value as 145 ohm by Ohm's law. Knowing that the real value of R1 is 150 ohm, I concluded that I have a 3.3% error in the experiment. However, there are some errors in my experiment. These errors can be related to my measurements because I got different values from multimeter. When I touch, it leaks to resistance slowly or hardly. Since multimeter has a high precision, it can be affected by tiny contact difference. Moreover, small changes in voltage values of DC supply may be another reason for errors. Even though I arranged voltage values of DC supplies at the beginning of the experiment, these values showed increases and decreases between 0.1 and 0.2. Thus, this situation also may have caused some errors in my experiment.